We've been with Senegal for 12 years, and it's been a great partnership for us because it's mutually beneficial. So it helps both organizations, both militaries, build readiness. And that probably is the key takeaway for me at every level. So if you look at NCO development, MOS training, collective training, medical readiness exercises, there's so many things that we touch in this partnership. That's where I see the greatest benefit. The first thing I would tell you is that there's a commonality, there's a common purpose for us because we're all military. We all serve. So I think that's the first thing. You'll see that at every level when you're building relationships, that common purpose. I think there's a willingness to work together. If you looked at some of the exercises we've done, last year I actually visited General Watt and went out to the range. We were rebuilding a range, and it was 2 platoons of engineers, one Senegalese and one from Vermont. And they had a Senegalese warrant officer engineer and our engineer. And to watch those young soldiers work together side by side, it's pretty powerful. And they didn't do it because they had to. They did it because they were friends, and they had a common purpose, again, to do that type of training, and it was for the betterment of everybody. It builds our readiness because they're doing the job they signed up for, and it helps the Senegalese because we're rebuilding a range that had not been used for a number of years. I think it benefits Vermont and Senegal, obviously, and as I mentioned earlier, the readiness aspect of it. I think what I'd like to see more of, and the potential for the program, is to grow it from military to military partnerships into a civilian partnership. We've seen evidence of how that can work, but then it kind of languished. I think we should go back to that. There are things, there are things we can do with governance and how Vermont does business. Department of Commerce, Department of Labor, and even on the military side, information operations. There's so many things that we haven't done yet, and that to me is the benefit of the long-standing relationship. It's a sustained effort. It's not a, we're done now and we go home. It stays because there's always something else to do. First, they establish relationships. They establish friendships, and a lot of times the experiences that they have, you'll have a real hard time duplicating that short of a deployment. I'll give you as an example, in May we did a medical readiness exercise. So that's 16 airmen and soldiers, so it was a joint mission. Irrespective of rank, we had our state surgeon who's a colonel, and we had young soldiers and airmen right out of training. And they traveled 7 hours east of Dakar. I believe they're actually east of the Gambia by truck convoy. And over the period of 9 days, working with their Senegalese medical counterparts, they saw 540 patients. What those young soldiers and airmen did, you're not going to get that in the United States. Working in an austere environment, fixing a humerus fracture on an 8-year-old kid, removing a kidney stone from a child, doing a bowel resection on a 2-day-old infant, and during that procedure, an E5 in the Air Guard, that young airman was able to breathe for the infant for 20 minutes of the procedure. And she just recently graduated from nursing school. You can't make that up. You're not going to do that at home. That's the benefit to me. I think the first thing they get is friendships. And you know, making friends in Senegal is an amazing experience in and of itself. But the big takeaway for soldiers and airmen is the experiences that they get. And I would give as an example the medical readiness exercises. They're going to go out and work in austere environments and see and do things that you're simply not going to do in the United States, short of being deployed someplace. That's a big takeaway for airmen and our soldiers. I think it's important to realize that it's a partnership. And what the state partnership program brings is the sustainability and those long-lasting relationships that you won't find within the active component. The nature of the job. Active component positions are transitional. People come and go in 3 or 4 years. That's not with the Guard. We have relationships that are long-standing, and that's the benefit of it. The other thing I would tell you is how impressed and consistently impressed I've been with how professional the Senegalese military is. They demonstrate a work ethic, their diligence, and just a willingness to work with us has always been impressive.